Way Shopping Center.
Frank Cameron, are you musically inclined?
Not at all. I come from a long family of non-musical people.
Non-musical people. Well, tonight you're going to meet a family that is very musically inclined, and they prove that working and playing together really keeps the family together. In our second story, we're going to meet a man who has gotten autographs and pictures with more than 2,000 stars and celebrities, and we'll find out his secret.
And then in our departments, Mary Gregori shares another easy home project, an attractive wall hanging made from Grandma's doilies. Captain Carrot shows how soy protein can actually lower your cholesterol level, and Norma Sampson shows you how to buy an economy car.
But right now, let's meet the Packards in Vidor. Many times here at PM Magazine, one story will lead to another. If you'll recall, last December, we introduced you to Dr. and Mrs. Schmieder, a musically gifted couple who came to Beaumont from Russia. Through Mrs. Schmieder, we met Rebecca and Rochelle Packard, two of her more talented students. In learning more about Rebecca and Rochelle, we discovered they live in an environment that could qualify as an endangered species. Rebecca and Rochelle are part of a 13-member family. Rebecca and Rochelle began studying music with Mrs. Schmieder only last September, and she says they have progressed quite rapidly. In fact, she says, 7-year-old Rebecca plays the violin as if she had been practicing for over a year. Is it easy for you to study music, or do you have to practice a lot?
Sometimes I have to practice a lot.
Do you like to practice?
Sometimes.
But other times, what would you rather be doing?
Playing. When I get some new songs, I get kind of excited. For the easy songs, I like them, but I don't practice those as near as much as the hard ones. But when I'm doing the hard ones good, it's fun.
So when Mrs. Schmieder tells you that you haven't been practicing like you should, does that make you want to go home and practice so you can come back and show her that you can play those songs?
Kinda.
So far, the highlight of their musical teamwork has been a Vidor High School talent show where the Packard sisters walked away with first place in the junior division. How did performing for a large audience for the first time make them feel?
Excited. It made me think, at first when I was up there, I thought I wouldn't get a trophy, and then it got me so excited. And Michelle looked at me and I looked at her, and we went up and got the trophy.
At this point, Rebecca and Rochelle's music lessons are only a hobby, even though they both say they want to be musicians when they grow up. 8-year-old Rochelle is a third grader at Pine Forest Elementary, and sister Rebecca is in the first grade. But Rebecca and Rochelle aren't the only Packards at Pine Forest. There's older brother Marshall and little Priscilla, who's in kindergarten. When the children get home from school, they try to give Mom a helping hand. Rochelle and Rebecca sometimes feed 6-month-old Michael, while Marshall keeps 2-year-old Samuel and 4-year-old Elizabeth occupied. The youngster's papa, Bernard Packard, is a lawyer. He believes teaching his children how to get along with others is one of his primary fatherly duties.
So starting at the earliest age, we concentrate on helping our children as well as teaching them to be compatible, to get along with, to not fuss or argue, to share compassion and love, really. And it's not easy for children, or even youth, or young teenagers, to always be compatible. But I think with a number of children in the family, it's probably easier to learn the art of sharing, giving and taking, really, and getting along with, than it is for 1 or 2 children.
One of the ways the Packards stay involved with one another is by participating in a weekly family home evening, a practice encouraged by their church. At this time, one of the children will give a lesson with some spiritual value. Then the Packards' living room becomes the stage for their many talents. With Mom at the piano, Rebecca performs one of her more difficult pieces. Mrs. Packard feels that one of the most important things she can instill in her children is self-esteem. She says the ideal way to build self-assurance is by helping a child develop a certain strength or talent.
I don't think that they can achieve anything unless they have a confidence in themselves. And anything, they can't even choose a good mate when they get married unless they have confidence in themselves that they deserve a good person. Or they can't succeed in their music or scholastically unless they have confidence in themselves.
But the girls aren't the only Packards who are musically adept. 17-year-old Stephen, 15-year-old Stan, 14-year-old David, and 12-year-old Dan all went to regional band competition this school year. Then there's always 10-year-old Marshall, who's always got some kind of trick up his sleeve. While Bernard and Sarah Packard say they've entertained thoughts of polishing up their children's talents in order to help them forge a career similar to that of the Osmond family, they have decided against it. They say there are too many risks involved in show business, risks that could split up the family. And that's the last thing the Packards would ever want to do.
Sam Baker has the story.
Rochelle Packard, daughter of Bernard and Sarah Packard of 5925 Porty in Vidor, died early this morning in a fire which destroyed the home. The other 10 children escaped unharmed. The fire started about 1:30 a.m. because of a gas leak in the family's utility room that was repaired yesterday.
It all started whenever the gas leak must have caught hold of some sort of fire, and maybe the pallet light in the dryer, and it blew up in there, and it just spread around, and the smoke came and woke everybody up. And Mama came and woke me up, and we all skedaddled out of the rooms that we were in. And I went over to the other room where the girls were, and we fished them out and got the baby out. We went in later and tried to get my sister Rochelle, the 8-year-old, but we couldn't find her. Dan was able to talk to her some, try to tell her to come over to the door, and she says, I can't. And then she went unconscious after that. And they found her body over at the head of the stairs about 20 or 30 feet down the hallway.
Rochelle's father, Bernard Packard, was taken to St. Elizabeth's Hospital and treated for smoke inhalation after his attempt to rescue Rochelle. He is reported to be in stable condition. There were no other injuries. Sam Baker, News Center 4.
A relief fund has been set up for the Packard family at the Vidor State Bank for anyone who wants
their 8-year-old sister, Rochelle Packard.
My brother Dan, he was, he could see something over there, and he's saying, Rochelle, come here, the window's over here, come to this window. And she was over by the door, which is on this side, and she